Welcome in, everybody. Hope everybody's having themselves a great evening. For those of you new to my stream, my name's Pack47. I usually stream World of Warships every Friday, Saturday, now Sunday on Twitch. Tonight, we're going to be covering the Closed Test 15.8 devlog. This devlog was released August 6th, 2026, and features a lot of new in-game content that's coming to the game, too. So let's go ahead and we're going to start going over this chat. All right, captains, from cold, untamed waters of the Baltic Sea to the serene Mediterranean Sea, European cruisers are ready to set sail. We will also be announcing 3 new premium ships, including the last sister ship to the famous Iowa-class battleships. A ship that you can still visit as a museum ship, the USS New Jersey. Now, this is hands down probably the most anticipated ship of the year coming to World of Warships, and finally, she's coming to the game, chat. American Battleship New Jersey Tier 10. Here she is, chat. This is what she looks like. BB-62, baby, in all her glory. New Jersey is the second member of the 4-strong Iowa class completed by the United States. Commissioned in 1943, she served in the Pacific Theater of the Second World War, being placed in reserve post-war. She was reactivated 3 times during the Korean War, Vietnam War, and during the 1980s, before leaving service and becoming a museum ship in 2001. Just a ridiculous amount of history behind this thing, chat. Command and Conquer, New Jersey fully adopts a support-oriented playstyle, allowing you to strategically buff your allies, yourself, and get the edge in battle. See, I love the direction that they're going with this, chat. And the timing is perfect, right? What they announced the release of the New Jersey pretty much at the same time as these new support style mechanics are coming to the game. I kind of had a gut feeling that that's the direction that they were going to go with the New Jersey. It looks like timing was perfect, and it looks like that's what they're going to do. Access to support oriented consumables, combat instructions charged by using support consumables, high speed, lower than average HP pool, but with an access to enhanced repair party. Okay. Medicore base firepower. Okay, well, she's going to have 406s. She's an Iowa-class battleship, and they are bumping her up to tier 10. So I can understand that her HP pool might be a little on the low side compared to other tier 10 battleships. But we'll get into the speed, what this thing's actually capable, and the stats of the ship here later on in the devlog. But the high speed is something that you definitely want to highlight with this ship, because I've been seeing some reports, man. It's with a speed flag and everything, you're probably going to be able to get this thing up to like 34, almost 35 knots, which is pretty nutty. The only other battleships that I can think that are really capable of that are like the Rhode Island. You know what I mean? These battleship cruiser style ships. However, the difference between like the Rhode Island and the New Jersey is the New Jersey is an actual battleship, right? She has battleship armor with that kind of speed, and the Rhode Island doesn't. So something to take into consideration here. All right, let's continue reading down. Do you want to read that next part, Classic, starting with New Jersey?
New Jersey is the last of the Iowa-class ships to enter the game, and she offers a unique playstyle and trade-offs. She keeps 9 406mm guns with standard accuracy, giving up raw firepower for her tier. Still, in exchange, she gets access to a palette of support consumables, letting you make an indirect impact by buffing your allies when the right moment comes. As you may already know, the support consumables work within the radius around your ship, so you'll need to adopt a position where you can maximize their uses by having the most allies within range, especially on active flanks. For that, you can rely on her high speed. New Jersey has a specific combat instructions that charge as you use those support consumables. You'll build up progress bar very quickly when you support several allies at once, opening in a short window to fire off powerful, accurate salvos of your own. You could also charge combat instructions by using these consumables on yourself, but this will provide a lower charge percentage. As always, with support ships, timing is everything. You might hold a consumable back to save an ally with a last-minute heal, or fuel a friendly battleship's push by boosting its secondary firepower. It opens a wide array of possibilities, but it all comes down to your decision making.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent approach to this ship, and it's only fitting for the New Jersey as well. Let's click on this right here because this will show some of the effects that they're talking about. This is one of their previous dev blogs here, but if you scroll down, I just want to show off these mechanics that they're referring to. For those of you who don't already know, here's one demonstration of a support consumable. I believe this is the one where it drops a heal buff. We'll see this here, right? You can select, you just go into your map screen, select, and here comes the airdrop, dropping a heal buff to the Cleveland. So this is just an example of some of the mechanics that the New Jersey's going to have, and it's pretty interesting to say the least, and I actually think that's really cool. Any chance that World of Warships can to like bestow like team play, team support style mechanics, I think it's phenomenal. I think that's great. It gets you out of the side of the mindset of just straight damage farming and puts you in a position where you can directly interact with your teammates and help them out when they need it the most. You know what I mean? And as it says in the dev block here, you know, it all comes down to your decision making and how you want to employ this ship. But let's continue on here. The New Jersey, this goes over some of the statistics here. 4.5, 32 millimeter plated. I mean, that's just standard with American battleships. Hit points, 81,000 to start. So yeah, that is a little on the low side, but I think it's on par with the rest of the tier 9 Iowas. You know what I mean? So it is going to have a slightly smaller HP hit pool compared to like most of your other tier 10 battleships. I know the GK is like somewhere around 105,000. You know, Kremlin's, you know, high 90s, low 100s too. So this is definitely on the lower side compared to some of the other tier 10 battleships, but they're taking a tier 9 ship and bumping it up to tier 10, right? Main battery, standard Iowas, 9 406 millimeter guns, but they're really accurate. I mean, the Iowas are just the Missouri, the Iowa, the Wisconsin are definitely known for having some pretty accurate guns. So I'm pretty excited about that. Maximum firing range, 23.4. So this is just screaming Iowa. Reload time. This is nice, chat. With 406s, look at this. 25-second reload. 25-second reload with 9 406s that don't miss. That's going to be pretty potent. That's going to be pretty potent right there. Sigma 1.9. Okay, so I mean, that's Iowa. Really accurate. It's not quite, you know, on par with, say, like the Beijing with like 2.1 or 2.0, but 1.9 Sigma is just incredibly good for any tier 10 battleship, especially the Iowa. So this thing's just screaming Iowa. Max damage with, let's see, max damage. Okay, HE shells. I'm not really too worried about that. Let's look at what the AP shells are doing here. Okay, max damage, 13,500. So yeah, they're okay. They're okay. Just, it's Iowa guns, strictly Iowa guns. Secondary argument, I wouldn't really be building into a secondary kind of platform with this thing. I would be building into a tank, main battery. If you can get your reload down even further, I mean, you can further enhance that 25-second reload with the equipment reload slot. So plus adrenaline rush. I mean, this thing's going to be pretty strong. Armor penetration capability, yeah, 21 millimeters. So this thing is just not, I mean, that's typical with any American battleship. Even though it has some support kind of style consumables, I would kind of consider this ship more as like something that you would want to be not really pushing with, but like kind of slightly back from your other battleships in your line, supporting the flank and supporting your ships with the support consumables. That's how I would play this thing. AWS is pretty much on par with any other Iowa-style battleship. AA, I mean, the AA is going to be pretty strong. Let's see. What are we getting into here? Maneuverability. This is what I'm interested in. Look at this, chat. This is pretty massive. And this is stock, okay? This is without any kind of equipment builds or any kind of speed flag. Look at this. Maximum speed, stock, 35.2 knots. When they said this thing's going to be fast, they weren't kidding. You drop a speed flag on this thing, plus maybe propulsion on your equipment, even running brisk, you could get this thing up around 38, almost 39 knots. This thing is going to cross map like crazy, man. Turning rudder shift time 7.2. So, I mean, all this is Iowa. This is just all standard Iowa. If you're used to playing any other Iowa class battleship in the game, this is going to feel almost identical to that. Detectability by sea 15.9. You can further enhance that too through concealment builds and whatnot. Let's see, detectability after firing main gun shells. So this is just basically your stock firing range 23 point. 4. I'm not really going to get too much into this here, but let's see. Combat instructions. This is what we're really interested in here. Action time 50 seconds. Okay, 50 seconds. Main battery, this is going to be pretty huge right here. Main battery AP shell damage increased by 33%. That's pretty muddy. That's pretty nutty. Main battery maximum dispersion reduced by 35%. That is an insanely strong combat instruction, chat, because you already have 1.9 kilometer, 1.9 sigma, so you can further enhance that dispersion on top of that by about another 35%. That's going to be pretty nutty. That's going to be absolutely nutty here. Reinforced elements. Let's see. Then, yeah, that's pretty nutty. So these are different things that you can use to support your teammates with too. Let's see. In slot 3, main battery reload time reduced by 12 per second, action time for 30 seconds. So this is stuff that you can use to boost your teammates with these support consumables.
And then there's also the point here in each of these that you only get 50% of the effect if you do your own ship.
Yes, that's important too. So these values are literally slashed in half if you try to support yourself. But this is actually pretty interesting here too. Auxiliary and torpedo armament assist. See, this is going to be massive for DDs here. Torp tube reload time reduction by 12%. That's pretty good. These are all direct buffs to DDs, man. This is absolutely fantastic. Secondary battery reload time reduction, 15%. Okay, cool. So, if you've got a Schleithen that's just pressing W, you can drop him that buff and give him another 15% reduction on his secondary armament. So, the Schleithen already has some pretty nutty secondaries. So this is actually going to be a really, really strong tier 10, chat. Then you got this one down here. This would be more kind of geared towards cruiser, continuous AA damage, armament, also 15%. So yeah, this is an excellent way of supporting your teammates with some of these support consumables here. And this, I'm not going to get into the weeds too much, but this is the action times, preparation times, so on, so on. You guys can read that for yourself. Engineering crew assistance, support-oriented consumables. Ship is, okay, see, this is where you can buff your ships. You can actually give your ships a heal, essentially. How much is it going to heal? That is a question here. Ship HP per second, 0.33%. So that's how fast the ship is actually going to heal back. Consumable preparation and consumable time reduced by 15%. So not only are you giving the ship a heal, you're reducing the cooldown on that ship's already existing heals and repair party, which is actually really nice. Action time 30 seconds, and looks like you can drop on any allies out to 15 kilometers. So that's really good. If the consumable is applied to your own ship, we already talked about this, you will receive only 50% of the effects. So this is what they're trying to do with that 50% penalty, if you want to call that, is they want you to be helping your team, right? I mean, it's nice to give yourself a buff whenever you think you can. If you're the last ship standing, yeah, help yourself out. But they really want this stuff to work for you supporting your teammates on the flank. And I think that's a great idea. Oh, good stuff. Yeah, the New Jersey looks really good, chat. Let me know in the comment section below what you think about this. What do you think? How do you think their play style is going to be? I think she's going to be incredibly strong. I think she's going to be a lot of fun to play. I like this high speed. I think that's pretty massive. There's definitely going to be a lot going for this ship here. There's definitely going to be something that I really want to have in my port for sure. And I'm going to be actively trying to get this ship. All right, let's move on to European cruisers. Captains, behold, a new tech tree line of cruisers will be making its debut in testing in 15.8. This branch will range from tier 4 all the way up to tier 10. That's kind of cool. In this development blog post, we will present to you the ships from tier 6 and above, and we will reveal the remaining ships in a later publication. Okay. So they're just going to show the tier 6 and on, which is fine. These cruisers have a special focus on stealthy torpedo gameplay, using their great speed and low detectability to get advantageous positions. In the spirit, the playstyle would be close to heavy destroyer, unlike most cruiser gameplay. So I think this, maybe you could kind of compare it to like a Jinan without smoke, if they're going to be heavily torpedo focused. I'm kind of curious as to how these ships will play.
So the summary is strong torpedo armament capabilities with long range and high speed, but at the cost of a long reload. The higher tier ships also boast a high number of torpedoes. They got good base speed with access to time-based emergency engine power with a large time reserve. Repair party with an extra charge for tier 8 and above. Good main gun damage per minute, but with low firing range. No access to conventional cruiser consumables like hydrocorrosion search, smoke generator,
Ooh,
or surveillance. Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah.
Weak armor, but very good concealment. So, a lot of this is like, okay, yeah, this is like a DD almost that they're
Yeah,
talking about
I
anyway.
think that's what they're going with it too. I think it's going to be a DD with a Citadel.
Citadel, yeah.
If they're going to be pretty stealthy too, and sounds to me like they're giving them European style torpedoes, which traditionally with destroyers and on the newer European battleships also have really good torps. Like the Tier 10 has Holland, right? Very fast moving torps, but at the same time they don't hit very hard. And we'll get into some of the statistics as we read farther down in this dev blog, but I think just the way this sounds, that's kind of the direction that they have. Some of the advantages that this ship would have over, say, a destroyer being a good torpedo, obviously, is firepower, right?
Yeah, so these have, like, I'm thinking Ragnar Smallen type things, but with torpedoes, Yeah, I'm wondering what the concealment's going to be on these based on compared to like Ragnar or Smallen.
Yeah, I think it's going to be pretty similar. I think it's going to have, I don't think that your concealment's going to be as good as, say, a Holland or an Ostergotland, you know what I mean? But I think compared to other cruisers, heavy cruisers like a Des Moines, a Salem, something along that line, you're going to have better concealment. Well, I'm kind of interested about the rudder shift times and stuff, because when you try to do that, that's one thing the Yodo really suffers with, right? The Yodo is an excellent torp cruiser, but it has a terrible rudder shift, and the thing's so long, so it's almost super hard to use what that ship was built. You know what I mean? I think this European cruisers are going to be a little bit more forgiving when it comes to like rudder shift times, and you'll be able to swing your ship around fast enough to get torps on target. That makes kind of sense. But what I'm kind of taking away from this is they're going to be a heavy torp focused cruiser, fast torps, low damage, but long reload times on your torps. But this positioning is going to be everything with these things, right? Because there's no hydro, no smoke generator, no surveillance radar. So the only thing that you got to work with to keep yourself alive is your good concealment and your rudder shift. And that's it, right? So when it comes to being effective with these kind of cruisers, positioning is just going to be everything. That's just how it's going to be. I think they'll work on a flank that's like kind of a holding flank where the enemy team has a strong pushing advantage and they're pushing into your flank. I think these ships would shine really well at that. You can kind of, it's always easier to torp a ship that's driving to you than a ship that's driving away from you, right? So I think in scenarios like that, that's when these ships are really going to shine. If you got some decent spotting, your guns are usable, right? Grab some cover, do your thing. You can still fire your guns. But I think the selling point of the ships obviously sounds like the torpedoes and your concealment, which is massive. So I'm kind of interested to see how these things will play. What's your take on it, Classic? Do you have any thoughts?
I think so. To expand a little bit on your talk about, I'd get on a flank with this thing and just stay as dark as I can, especially if somebody's trying to push a flank like battleship or another cruiser.
Yeah.
Just toss across them, turn them broadside to your battleships. And I don't think these are going to be high damage, average games, but you probably could have some high damage games. These are going to be something
I agree with that too. Yeah, I think
manage the enemy.
Yeah, manage the enemy is a great way to put it. I think to expand on your point too, like what you said about turning ships broadside, and I've said this a gazillion times on stream. You don't always have to be landing torps with a torp boat to be effective with your torps. Now that sounds crazy, right? We always want to land torps, but if you can send torps at a ship that'll put them completely out of position, make them turn away, make them stop pushing, have that cruiser show side to a battleship because he's trying to dodge your torps and gets blapped. I mean, these are all really good things, right? Even if you don't connect with your torps, they're still just a really effective area denial tool. And a lot of times it'll put, the attacking ships in a position where they're going to put themselves in a kind of less than an ideal spot because they're just trying to dodge your torps. And that's the whole point, right? So I think Classic's right. Get down the flank with this thing, wing a bunch of torps, shoot as you're kiting away as targets kind of present themselves. But no hydro, no smoke, no radar. You're really gonna have to watch yourself. But I think they're cool. Let's see. I'm kind of curious to see how fast they're going to be, what the rudder shift times are going to be. I'm under the impression these are heavy cruisers. Let's see. Lead ship of 2 strong classes of modern light cruiser construction. Okay, so they're not heavy cruisers. They're light cruisers by the looks of things here. Constructed by Sweden to reinforce its navy during the Second World War. They were armed with 152 millimeter Bofors, originally intended for the Pavonsky class of cruiser. She entered service in 1947 and served along with the Royal Swedish Navy until being decommissioned in 1964. So yeah, if these things are going to have 152s, they're definitely a light cruiser. But because they're a light cruiser, that means decent rudder shift times, right? Good torps. Okay, you can kind of play this thing like you need. That was the tier 6. Do you want to read off on the tier 7, the heel?
Yep, the Hell. Tier 7, hypothetical transfer of a small light cruiser of the MLK series of designs, the modern Zawani Krasonik. That's Lecky. That's the best I can do, folks, in the Polish language. Specifically, MLK-8-152 to Poland from the Soviet Union during the 1950s, following the establishment of the Warsaw Pact, named in honor of the Polish city of Hell on the Baltic coast.
Okay, so these are definitely they're light cruisers. They're not rocking 203s. They're going to be a little squishy. I mean, they're going to be just like any other light cruiser in the game, right? You're not going to want to be getting caught broadside, but if they're going to have really good concealment, I mean, the thing about having really good concealment is you get to dictate when you want to fight, right? And that's the same with a destroyer. That's the same with a battleship. That's the same with a cruiser. If you can have a cruiser that has really good concealment, even though you're moderately squishy, you can pick and choose when you want to fight the enemy, right? So that's a massive advantage when it comes to these things, as far as survivability is concerned. But they look kind of cool. European cruiser, let's see, the tier 8, the Kradik? Creedier. Okay, we're going with that, chat.
Creedy.
So it looks like these are definitely European cruisers, right? You're getting a mixed batch of ships from a bunch of different countries throughout the world. And I can definitely see the American style, like Worcester-ish kind of style front turrets, right? With a rounded turret, where if you look up here, these are definitely Soviet-based. These are absolutely Soviet-based cruisers. So, the European cruisers are just kind of like a mixed badge of ships that are coming from various nations and whatnot, which I love. I think it's great. Terrifying? Am I saying that correctly? Turfing. Okay, we're going with turfing, chat. A hypothetical development of the tier Kron class of Trikroner class of light cruisers focused on an increased main battery and improved anti-aircraft capabilities to counter the larger Chapayev and Servov class cruiser of the Soviet battle fleet, named in honor of a cursed sword of Norse mythology. Okay, so I'm not sure exactly what nation this came from, but it looks like, I mean, it says right here is designed to counter.
Dutch.
It does look Dutch, doesn't it? It does look Dutch.
Or Danish, one of the two.
Danish,
the name sounds Danish, yeah.
Yeah, I can see that there. And it was made to counter the Chapayev class, the Chappie class cruisers. So kind of a cool design. I like the looks of it.
Yeah, these last two get like a little bit better armor plating. It looks like 25 millimeter in the fore and aft, but they're still 152 guns.
Yeah, for sure. Here's the tier 10. Do you want to read off the tier 10? That's a cool looking cruiser. Yeah. That's an awesome looking boat. But yeah, you can see let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You got 10 torps on each side. I mean, that's pretty nutty.
So this is further development of the Trey Kroner with its main battery concentrated in triple turrets and a modern anti-aircraft battery of 40 millimeter and 57 millimeter guns. An increased torpedo armament is also carried to improve the vessel's chance in combat with likely Soviet forces. The name is in reference to the goddess Freya and signifies her status as a daughter of the Vanir, a group of gods in Norse mythology. So this is either Dutch or Nordic.
Yeah. Yeah,
I think Dutch, she's a good Nordic. It's Nordic.
Nordic. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, they're pretty looking boats too. I love the lines of this thing. It kind of has that like tall bow on the front, then just kind of levels back for the room for the torpedoes. They did a really good job of modeling this thing. But yeah, they're triple turrets. You got 6 guns in the front. That's pretty nuts. So let's go ahead and look at some of the statistics on this thing. I'm not going to get into it too much, and I'm really only concerned about the tier 10 for now. Fore and aft end plating 25 millimeters. Okay, just light cruiser. Base of 4,800, 200 hit points. Let's see. Main battery. This is what I'm looking for. 3x3. So you get 952 millimeter guns. So these are light cruisers. That's what they are. They're light cruisers. You know, reload time 4.6. You know what I mean? That's actually pretty decent. So, you know, they're going to be kind of like a high rate of fire, low caliber. You're going to want to play these like any other light cruiser in the game, right? The targets, what kind of targets you're going to be going after, right? DDs, farming out battleships. I would kind of avoid a cruiser fight with a heavy cruiser. Like, I wouldn't want to be going toe to toe with a Salem in this thing, right? But she's still really playable. Let's see what her concealment is. Here's the torpedoes too. Let's get into, I'm going to skip over kind of the main battery because this is just typical light cruiser stuff. Let's see, 4x5. So yeah, you get 10 torps on each side, 20 torps total, max damage of 10,700. So that's Holland torps. Yeah, Holland torps, man. Speed 86 knots base. Holland torps, range 15 kilometers. Holland torps, end of story. Detectability by range 1.8, torpedo reload time 125 seconds. Okay. 100 degree turn times 7.2 seconds. So these are just Holland torps. High rate of speed, low damage, spammy kind of torps, but they're still going to be really effective because, you know, how many torps does it take to cause a flood, right? One. You know what I mean? On the right RNG. So you don't need a hard hitting torp to kind of like force out damage control. But at the same time, you know, just understand that you're not gonna, if you're gonna try to YOLO rush, say a Kremlin in this thing that's full HP in the hopes of dev striking it, you're not gonna do it. You can land all 10 torps in this thing and you're not gonna have enough alpha to get the thing dead. So understand, you know what I mean? It's gonna play like a larger Holland with a little bit more firepower in a Citadel. So let's go down here. I'm kind of looking for the concealment. You know, here's your AA stats and stuff. I'm not going to go over this too much. Okay, here we go. Maneuverability. This is something that's going to matter in this ship, right? Because it's a torpedo focus cruiser, right? That's going to be your main weapon. Your main go-to with this ship is going to be your torpedo. Maximum speed, 35 knots. That's good. That's good. Not too bad. Remember, it does not have an engine boost, so that's what you got. Turning circle radius, 780 meters. That's not too bad, but here we go. Rudder shift time, 10.5. That's decent. That's decent. So you're actually going to play this thing. And look at this, you know, a decent rudder shift time in conjunction with decent concealment, 11.7 base. So after concealment builds, you know, commander builds and stuff, you could probably get that down to like 10.5. 10.5 or maybe even a little bit better. That's actually pretty good. That's actually a very usable cruiser. This thing's going to feel very, very comfortable, very maneuverable on a flank. And you're going to need that. You're going to absolutely need that because you're going to have to get this ship turned around quick enough to get your torps off and dodge enemy fire, right? Because you don't have smoke, you don't have any other, you don't have hydro, you don't have anything. So your whole existence, your whole ability to stay alive in this ship is based on two things. And it's these two values right here, rudder shift time and detectability by sea. That's how you stay alive in this boat. And here we go. Detectability after firing a main gun shell, 14.7. So that's your max firing range, 14.7. That's short. That's really short. That's really short. You know what I mean?
I think the torp range is better than that.
Yeah, the torp range. Yeah, those are 15 even. So, you know, you're going to be playing these things like a gigantic destroyer. You're going to play these things like a big Holland, you know, or bigger Ostergotland. You know what I mean? Something along that line. So it's going to be a little bit of a unique playstyle. The one advantage, though, that you have, if you're looking at this from a glass is half full perspective, right? The one good thing I will say about having a short firing range is your ability to drop off, right? Because if you fire your guns, the way this works in game, you're spotting your detectability by sea blooms out to your max firing range, and you'll stay lit for 20 seconds after you're firing your guns. If you have a short firing range, all right, you're not going to be spotted from 15 kilometers out, 18 kilometers out, 19 kilometers out, right? You'll have the ability to drop off quicker with a short main battery firing range than you would if you were to, you know, say have like an 18.5 kilometer firing range with, I don't know, anything, Hindenburg, something along that line. So there is kind of like a silver lining to that, but that is really short. That is really, really, really short. Yeah, you're really going to have to be mindful of your kind of your positioning with these things. And remember, all these values too are subject to change. this ship could definitely benefit for running range mod. You know what I mean? Over reload, because your firing range is that short. But these are gonna be little knife fighters, man. I think they're gonna be kind of cool. Detectability range by, yeah, so that's all of that saying. And these are your consumables here. You got damage control party, repair party, and emergency engine power. Let's see what this is in slot 3. Maximum speed by 30%, total use time 180, duration 10 seconds, reload time 20 seconds. Okay. All stats are listed without crew and upgrade modifiers. Yep. The stats are subject to change during testing too. And that's something to kind of keep in mind here too. All these values that we're looking at here can be buffed or nerfed depending on how they do. So it's going to be interesting on how these things play. I'm pretty excited about it. I think they're going to be a bigger DD. That's all they are. They're going to be a bigger Holland, a bigger Ostergotland. That's how I look at it, with more firepower. You know what I mean? So kind of interesting.
Well, they're just torque focused.
Yeah. They're just a bigger
torque focused. Oster isn't necessarily.
Yeah. So it's what was it got going for it? Long torps, your European style torpedoes that we're always, we're accustomed to used to. That's not going to change. All right. Good concealment, good rudder. It's not going to be a bad boat. They're not going to be a bad line at all. Let's see. Let's continue on here to the Spanish premium cruiser. Do you want to go ahead and read that, Classic?
Following the end of the Spanish Civil War, Spain looked to construct new modern cruisers of Project 138. This consisted of 3 possible variants: Project 13B, 38B planned to reuse twin 305mm gun turrets taken from the España class dreadnoughts to build cruisers capable of defeating any other cruiser in European waters. Aragón combines the traditional Spanish alternative firing mode with high caliber guns for cruisers. Use your standard firing motor to keep pressure on the opponent, and then switch to her alternative mode to crush their broadsides.
Yeah, so that's going to be a lot of fun, man. Yeah. You're gonna have a Spanish cruiser with burst fire firing 305s, man. It's gonna be Alaska with a burst fire. You know what I mean? This ship's gonna be really cool, man. That thing's gonna be a lot of fun to play. Oh, well, yeah, that's actually pretty nutty. I can't wait to play that thing, man. I love these battle cruiser styles ships anyways. Ships like the Alaska, even the Kronstadt, you know what I mean? Stuff like that. But this thing is just gonna be absolutely devastated if anything shows side. Go ahead. I just wanted to kind of like ad-lib that a little bit, Classic. But Long, you want to finish reading off here?
Yeah, long firing range with large caliber guns and good base reload for the caliber. Access to an alternative firing mode that drastically improves her accuracy and AP penetration capabilities at the cost of a long reload.
Okay.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, the Spanish don't have great accuracy until you hit that firing mode. But
yeah,
low number of guns and unimpressive accuracy using the battlecruiser. There we go. Good base speed, but with bad concealment.
Okay.
Aragón plays as a 2-in-1 cruiser rather than sticking to a single role like most of her tier peers. Her standard firing mode is designed for sustained damage. The fast reload of her 6 305mm guns allows her to pressure enemy ships with frequent HE salvos, starting fires, and steadily wearing down battleships. Her AP remains effective against exposed broadsides. The limited number of guns and battlecruiser dispersion make it unreliable. In this mode, Aragón plays much like a conventional damage-focused large cruiser, supporting your team from range with frequent salvos.
Yeah, I think this thing's strength is just raw firepower. I mean, 305s are excellent guns for killing other cruisers, right? That's what we're looking at here. Ships like the Alaska, Puerto Rico, these ships were built, I think even Rhode Island, right, has what, 305s, 310s?
Mm-hmm.
You know,
yeah,
these ships are just built to kill other cruisers. That's why they exist. And you give this thing a burst fire with that most of the Spanish cruisers are used to having with 305s. I mean, this thing's going to be absolutely devastating. Even if your rounds aren't like super accurate compared to, say, the Alaska, if anything shows you side in this thing, you're going to dumpster it. You know, because 305s are that really unique caliber, right? Where your AP is heavy enough to where it overmatches pretty much any cruiser armor that shows you side. And it's not heavy enough to where it's going to overpen. So if you catch any cruiser broadside of this thing, it's like you're just going to instantly delete it with that burst fire. You know what I mean? And that burst fire comes in really handy too. Yes, when you're spamming battleships, if a GD shows itself, gets spotted for that 3 to 5 seconds where you can get a beat on it, hit that burst fire, get get an ungodly amount of 305s on a DD. I mean, that's just going to be pretty brutal. So this thing's going to be really strong. I think if I was going to play the ship, I would play it similar to like an Alaska. I don't know if Kronstadt's really a good comparison, but it's going to have a similar play style. I think the best comparison probably be the Alaska, just for lack of anything else to compare it to. But at the same time, it's going to play like a Spanish cruiser. You're not really going to want to hug rocks with this thing. You're not going to be really wanting to play it bow on. I think she would really shine on a flank, especially if you're on a pushing flank. You know what I mean? You just have so much raw firepower that you're going to have the ability to put a lot of pressure on a flank. And I think that's incredibly important. What do you think, Classic?
Yeah, I think too. I think it's got it's going to be difficult to play against if you don't make mistakes, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I also think that it can be one of those vulnerable things too, because it is something that if you can play against her weaknesses, then I think you can have an advantage. But again, if you make mistakes against these things, you're just going to die very quickly.
Yeah, you're going to pay for it. You're going to find out really quick the hard way that you made a mistake. I think these things are going to be really strong, definitely on a pushing flank, but even on a holding flank, I'm under the impression, especially if it's got like battle cruiser kind of armor similar to the Alaska, you can kite with this thing too. You know what I mean? With a burst fire, it's like, does any battleship really want to push into this thing, right? You know what I mean? So, there's that. It's going to be Spanish cruiser, so it's not going to have any radar, most likely, or anything like that. And we'll get into the stats the farther we go down. But, yeah, having a cruiser with moderately decent armor, armed with 305s and a burst fire is just devastating. That's all you need to tell me to buy this ship. You know what I mean? Or want to obtain this ship. She looks pretty nutty. She looks really nutty.
Yeah.
All right, now here we go.
The other thing too is, going into I'm going to make a couple mentions here to prove that point. Is that if you look at their alternative fire mode up here, reload time is 28 seconds, which is kind of terrible, but you only get one salvo anyway. But your AP shell penetration goes up 40% and your dispersion goes down 25%. So if you're playing with someone who knows how to aim.
Oh, yeah, this thing's going to be brutal. Absolutely brutal. Yeah, this thing's going to be really nutty on I can think of 101 different uses for this ship, man, and just all of them are good. You know what I mean? This thing's just all about raw firepower, man. Yeah, it looks kind of cool. It does have some self-defense torps too, which is really nice. I'm looking to see here again, kind of maneuverability, rudder shift time 11.3. Max turning radius, 840. So it's definitely going to be that battle cruiser-ish kind of feel. But look at this. Max speed, 36 knots. That's not bad. You know what I mean? It's going to play very similar to it's just going to be a bigger version of a Spanish cruiser. But comparable to an Alaska is what I'll say. And let's see here, detectability. So your firing range, 18.6. I mean, that's really good, man. They're 305s. This thing is just a cruiser killer. That's what it's built for. That is why it's here in game. It's designed to kill other cruisers, and I think it's going to do a very good job at it. That's my take on it. It does get engine boost too, which is kind of cool. Yeah, so damage control, repair party, fighters, spotting aircraft. You could probably pick between, slot 4 and slot 4. So you can pick between fighters or spotting. Definitely go spotting. So yeah, you can get this thing. Oh my God, this thing's getting brutal, dude. This thing with a spotting aircraft, it gives you an extra 20% on your firing range. Yeah, it's going to be pretty nutty. That's going to be pretty nutty. I don't think it's going to be better in Alaska. I don't think it's going to be worse. I think it's comparable, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun to play. That's my take on it. All right, let's move down here to the European submarine. You want to go ahead and read this off, Classic? I have my own thoughts on this thing.
Yeah, I'm not into subs, but I can read. So the Tier 10 Orzeł, it's a pan-European submarine at Tier 10, lead member of her class of 2 submarines built for the Polish Republic in the Netherlands during the 1930s. I know the Poles will be happy to have this in the
Yeah,
game.
absolutely.
With the outbreak of the Second World War, Orzeł operated in the Baltic before being interned in Estonia, but her crew took back the submarine and sailed it to the United Kingdom without navigational aids. She would serve alongside the Royal Navy in the Norwegian campaign before going missing in 1940.
They just ganked
Orzeł,
that thing and they're like, we're just gonna point it that way and
yeah,
go.
it's mine. It's
We're
mine.
just taking it. Yeah,
Yeah.
this is mine now. I'm glad we had this talk. That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
All right. Orzeł is a little different from your usual submarine. She's designed for aggressive gameplay and resilience rather than pure stealth. Let's check it out. So it's got a high surface speed with access to engine boost consumable, good survivability with access to a variant of the torpedo defense system consumable. Rotating torpedo launchers provide flexible firing angles while the ship carries numerous torpedo groups. No access to the hydrophone consumable. Yay. Slow ping velocity. And now we'll talk about Orzeł sports an unusual torpedo layout, combining 4 fixed tubes at both the bow and stern with 2 rotating twin launchers positioned near each end of the ship. As for the loaders, there are 4 single loaders in the bow, 2 twin rotating loaders mounted in the hull, and 4 single loaders in the stern. While surface, the rotating launchers will give you an additional flexibility, allowing you to attack targets while maneuvering your fixed bow or stern tubes into firing positions. Her ping is a little slower than most other submarines, so you'll need to adjust your aim carefully to land it against fast maneuverable targets. And I'll go ahead and do this last little paragraph here. To make full use of her strengths, you'll want to spend most of your time surfaced. That's where her speed is at its best and where you get your full torpedo angles. Of course, staying surface also makes you easier to detect, and she has no access to hydrophone to warn you of nearby surface threats. This is where her signature consumable comes in, a special version of torpedo defense system. Time it right and you'll mitigate 70% of incoming torpedo and depth charge damage for a short time, opening the door to daring and more aggressive plays in close range engagements. This resilience lets you survive encounters which sink most other submarines outright.
Yeah, that's actually the one thing that comes to my mind is Surcouf, right? Because it has a similar like rotating torpedo kind of turrets on a sub, but if you can mitigate 70% of the incoming damage that you're going to take with this thing, combine that with the really good speed, this thing is going to be kind of nutty, chat. I'm not a big submarine player. I don't have anything, I'm not for them or against them in game. I just don't really play them often because I much prefer to play a destroyer. However, this thing looks really aggressive, man. If you can play this thing similar to a Surcouf and mitigate 70% of the incoming damage, you can do some wild things with this thing, man. Definitely play island cover, and if it's got good speed, I mean, there you go. You dictate when and how you want to fight, right? So if you get one of these things on a flank, this is going to be a battleship's worst nightmare, man. Not only can't you kill it, it can torp you at angles that most other subs can't. That's pretty wild, man, to think about. Seriously. Like I said, I'm not a big sub. I don't have a lot of experiences with subs in this game, but this thing's going to play more, I think, more like a destroyer than it is a traditional submarine that we have, existing in game compared to like the American or the German submarines. I mean, this thing's going to play like honestly, I think a more aggressive Surcouf. That's what I think.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's got a 5.2 kilometer detect on the surface, so that's really good.
That's insane. Yeah, so most DDs at tier 10, I think the best concealment at tier 10 is what, Shimakaze maybe, or Shimakaze-ish destroyers, and that's 5.6. You know what I mean? So even tier 8, your best concealment at tier 8 is 5.4, with the exception of one newer IJN torpedo destroyer that has also has 5.2. But that's kind of nutty, chat. This thing is it's got speed, it's got rotating torp turrets, it can mitigate 70% of incoming damage, and it's gonna pick when and how it wants to kill you. So that's actually, I think that's pretty strong for a submarine, man. And I'm not going to read off all this, chat. You can kind of look for yourself what this thing's all about. I'll just put this up on screen. You can kind of go through it here. See, this is what I am interested in though. Okay, standard torpedoes, max damage 7,800, max range 12K, speed 89 knots. Oh my god. Dude, they're faster than Hollandorps. Then you got an alternative torp, max damage. Oh my god, look at this, man. Max damage 17,000. Max range 10 kilometers, speed 69 knots. So that's definitely a lot slower, but still, I mean, those are some hard-hitting tours, man. What I think those would be really effective at is if a ship's insanely close. You know what I mean? And you don't have to rely on speed to make hits because you're just right on top of the other battleship. That's gonna one-shot a battleship. There's enough alpha there. If you land all your salvos or your torps on a battleship, that'll one-shot it. That'll kill it. Definitely tier 8 battleships. Pretty much every tier 9 ship. The only ship you probably wouldn't be able to like dev strike outright, it'd be like the Kremlin at tier 10, something along that line, you know, a Soviet style battleship. But yeah, that's actually kind of nutty, Jet. This thing's gonna be pretty brutal, dude. It's a Polish Surkuf is what it is, with better concealment. Oh man, I don't know.
I mean, it's got 12. It's got 12 of them. So you've got 2x2 550s, and then you got 8 550s.
God. Oh my
you've
goodness.
Got 2 different torpedo types for each of those launchers.
This thing is broken, dude. All these values are subject to change too, chat. So if this thing comes out and it's just like completely overperforming, they'll definitely make adjustments to it.
Here's the other thing too. It's got a 50-second reload on its torps.
That's nuts, dude. With 5.2 kilometer concealment, super fast, and you're not gonna be able to kill the thing off fast enough. This is just brutal, dude. This thing is just absolutely freaking brutal. Oh my goodness, this thing's gonna be a menace, dude. This thing is gonna be an absolute menace. You're gonna play this thing like a destroyer. You're gonna play it identical to a destroyer.
I'll probably rage quitting a few times here and there.
Oh my goodness, man. So there's a lot of good things coming to the game, chat. Obviously, I think the one ship that the entire player base is looking forward to is the New Jersey. It's definitely been one of the most asked for ships going on for years now. When we get into New Jersey? When we get into New Jersey? Well, it's finally here, chat. It's coming in close. We're going to see it run around close test 15.8. And hopefully it'll be released pretty soon. Usually it's 2 patches after they test it, typically. Not guaranteed, you know what I mean? I don't want to speak for World of Warships. I can't really do that. But typically after testing, in most cases, if the testing goes well, it's usually, 2 patches after the test and it comes out. So we got the New Jersey to look forward to, chat. I think it's going to be a fun tier 10 battleship. I think it's going to be fun. I like the idea that you can support your other teammates to support consumables. I love that mechanic. I think that's great. We got some European cruisers coming to the game. I think they're going to be kind of cool. It's going to play, like I said, like a big Gotland or a big Holland. That's all they are to me. They're just a big torp boat with a little bit more firepower and a little bit more HP. This Spanish cruiser is going to be pretty nutty. I definitely want to get this thing. I love the Alaska, and you give me a heavy cruiser with 305s and a burst fire, that's sold. That's all you need to tell me. And again, I'm not a big fan of submarines in this game. Not that I have anything against them. Not that I just rather play destroyers. And that's just me. There's no logic or reason behind it. I'm a DD main. That's what I play. That being said, I think this submarine, this Polish submarine here, is going to play very similar to a lot of the destroyers that we actually have in the game. And I think this thing's going to be pretty nuts, man. This thing looks pretty busted here by the way this thing is reading off. So we'll have to see what they do in testing. We'll see what gets changed, if anything. And either way, we got a lot of really exciting things coming to the game, chat, which is super exciting. For those, so let me know what you think in the comment section below, chat. What you think? What ships are you most looking forward to? What do you think of the New Jersey? You like it? You hate it? Give me your thoughts on it, chat. All right, again, for those of you new to my channel, my name's Airback47. I usually stream on Twitch every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Sub to me here on YouTube. Leave me a comment down in the section. Make sure you ring that bell and watch me live on stream, chat. We are currently producing this video live on Twitch, so be sure to follow me over there, and hope to see you on stream. All right, everybody, have a great weekend, and we'll see you on the next one.